just living the life. I'm back in Alabama now. We got back from that KISS cruise on, I think it was Sunday. We flew back or whatever, but just I was gone for a week before that, so just literally trying to get caught up on bank errands and laundry and emails and checking in with mom and friends and,
Cool.
all that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, what have you been up to, man?
Work. I want to introduce you now to, a new band called Adler with Jacob.
Right on.
Jacob. Hey, man, how can you believe you went from a band called Allergic to a band called Adler?
I know, it's pretty freaking crazy. You know what the craziest thing is, even crazier than that, is I think I'm the only person in history now that has been in two bands with the drummer's last name.
Oh, yeah.
Lynham and Adler.
Yeah. Cool. How was that KISS cruise?
Man, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. KISS has the best work ethic of anybody I've ever seen in my life. It's absolutely insane. Those guys, there's a reason that they're one of the biggest bands in the world, and there's a reason that they're so successful. And sure, the music's great and the concepts are great and everything else, but more than anything, those guys wanted it, and they still want it. Their work ethic is insane because they're a lot older now, and they would put on, they played 3 times on the ship. They played 3 times in 4 days. They played on the pool deck the first night without makeup, just acoustic, and then they played 2 shows. They played a show the next night in the theater, and then they played another show the next night because it was a whole ship, and only half the ship could fit in each show because the capacity of the room. But the thing is they took pictures with every single person on the ship. So they would put on their costumes, and they would start taking pictures at 6 o'clock at night until 9 o'clock at night. At 9 o'clock, their security guy would walk them straight from the area where they were doing pictures to the stage, and then they would play a 2-hour show, so 5 hours in the costume. And then in between, like during the day, they would host contests like the Paul Stanley belly flop contest, the Simmons stick tossing contest, and then they did a Q&A, a question and answer thing with the ship. And I mean, these guys, I don't know when they slept, and you can't find a band, even a current band with people half their age that's got that kind of work ethic. So good for KISS, you know what I mean?
Wow. I was just watching some live footage on YouTube of Adler playing on the ship. It was pretty cool, pretty windy. It seemed a little bit.
Very windy, but very cool. I hurt myself really bad the last night of the cruise. We had to play out on the pool deck where KISS played the first night, and during our show, we were only halfway through the show. And I jumped in the crowd with my wireless microphone, and there was a water slide on the pool deck, and I started running up the water slide as I was singing. And on my way back down, I'm 6'5", I'm really, really tall. On my way back down, I ran right into a beam on the water slide, and it ended up scalping my head, like on top of my head.
Wow.
Like literally cut off part of my scalp, where I got back on stage and I was just bleeding really bad, and I took my towel and wiped my head and held up the towel with all the blood, and the whole crowd was just like, And Stephen wanted to stop the show, and I was like, no, let's keep playing. And he goes, no, man, it's bad. It's really bad. We need to stop the show so you can get stitched up. But we didn't stop the show. We played, and then after we were done, we signed autographs and took pictures for 2 hours, and then I let the EMT sew me up. So I've got a big bald spot on my head with a bunch of stitches now.
That's not cool.
Yeah, it's rock and roll. You know what they say, man. It's not a rock show until somebody's bleeding. So.
Wow. Cool. Can you believe our first interview together was in 2006?
Wow, man, it's been, that's 6 years ago,
wow.
And I guess that's when we were out with Hinder, right, with Lynham?
Yes.
Slave to the Machine.
Yeah, and then we hung out at Rocklahoma in 2008.
Yes, we did.
And then you went on your way, and amazing career. It was a long road, wasn't it?
It was. It really was. But I never really looked at it as being a long road as much as just kind of rolling with the punches. Like David Lee Roth says, you got to roll with the punches. And I've always tried to take the advice of David Lee Roth, because he seemed like he had such an amazing, and still seems like he has such an amazing life. And instead of trying to get to the next level, I've always enjoyed the ride. Like, right. It's not about getting there. It's not about being there or whatever. It's about the ride, getting there. And I've always lived my life like that. Like right now, I'm not looking for the next thing or anything. I'm just enjoying every bit of it and rolling with the punches, man.
Cool. Now, will you be going out on tour? That was your debut show, right, on the cruise?
Yeah, our debut show was the day before the cruise. It was in Cape Coral, Florida, at a place called Dixie Roadhouse, and that was the first show that we had ever played as Adler, and it was so much fun. And then the next 3 shows that we did were on the KISS Cruise, and got to meet KISS and have our pictures made with them and hang out and all that. So it was just pretty incredible, man. I really had the time of my life.
Wow. Now, the debut CD will be coming out, I think, the 26th of this month, Back from the Dead. How is it doing the recording with Stephen?
The recording was absolutely insane, because you got to remember the Guns N' Roses guys are, they come from a different time as far as recording goes. When they were recording their records back in, in '87 when Appetite came out, Stephen didn't use a click track on that or whatever. They just all got in a room and they played, and they kept time by watching Slash's foot. Nowadays, when you record, you don't record the tape anymore. You record to, Pro Tools on the computer, and you use click tracks, and you punch in every section and stuff like that. That's the way the bands record today. But Stephen wanted to do an honest band recording, and Jeff Pilson from Dokken played bass, and he was used to doing the honest way of recording. And of course, we had Slash play on the record, and John Five from Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson play on the record. And so we played as a band, and it was absolutely amazing doing a record the old school way. And it was the most surreal thing in the world when I'm in the vocal booth and I'm looking out in the studio and I see Slash, Stephen Adler, Jeff Pilson, and I'm like, holy shit, these guys are hanging on my wall when I was a kid, like my whole life. And it's like somehow, somehow I got chosen to be the lead singer of this project. And, I'm just a redneck from Alabama. This is nuts.
Wow.
So, so it was that rock star moment, like the movie with Marky Mark.
Right,
where
yeah.
Just like, where he becomes the singer of Steel Dragon or whatever, which is based on Judas Priest, of course, with Tim Ripper Owens. But I guess that's how it felt. It was just like, wow, I was literally pinching myself in the vocal booth, going, man, I'm really doing this, doing a record with these guys. So I'm humbled, man. I'm humbled and blown away, and very grateful and thankful.
So how'd you end up actually getting the gig?
It's a crazy story. And I don't know if you believe in things like this, but I sure do. I think everything happens for a reason. And I was really good friends with Janie Lane, and the way that I became friends with Janie Lane is he was a big Lynam fan, and he reached out to me wanting to write songs. And of course, I was just such a huge Warrant fan too when I was a kid, and I've always just loved Janie. Thought his songs were amazing. So when he reached out to me originally, I was like, well, hell yeah, that's amazing. I would love to write songs. So right after he got out of Celebrity Fit Club, he flew to Birmingham and stayed with me at my house, and we wrote songs and really hit it off and just became great friends to where we would write songs. I would go to L.A. and write songs. He'd come here and write songs, and we were just amazing friends. And when he was here in town, when he wasn't on the road, he was always clean and sober. Like, he wouldn't drink, he wouldn't do anything. Well, Janie was never a drug guy anyway. He was always, alcohol was his weakness.
Right.
But when he was here, like he wouldn't drink alcohol. I'm straight edge. I don't drink or do any drugs or anything. I've always been that way. And so when he was here, he wouldn't do that. He still had his addictive personality, so he'd spend $15 a day on Starbucks. But hell,
right.
that's well, we've all got our vices. He got me strung out on Starbucks, so now I have to have a couple of them a day. But so when Janie was here, or LA, when he wasn't on the road and we were riding, he would always be really straight. Unfortunately, that VH1 tour started, and I drove him from my house to the airport so he could start that tour. And probably the second night of the tour, he fell off the wagon, and you saw the YouTube footage where he was all drunk again. And then Same thing with Warren. His problem is when he went out on the road, he just couldn't stay clean, because he had always associated playing on stage, having a couple of shots to loosen up and everything else. And unfortunately, it couldn't stop with a couple of shots. So, to make a long story short, like I said, we were really good friends, and he passed away, and I was devastated, and I felt like the whole world lost such a tremendous talent. So in August of last year, his memorial was at the Key Club in L.A., and to pay my respects, I flew out to L.A. to go to his memorial. And while I was out there, at the memorial, I ran into a friend of mine named Jay Rustin, who is the producer that produces Steel Panther and Anthrax, and he mixed the new Stone Sour and all that stuff. Just a great guy. And he said, "Hey, man, I know you're in Lynham, but Stephen Adler from Guns N' Roses is tired of doing Adler's Appetite. He doesn't want to do the Guns N' Roses songs anymore. He's looking to do an original project, and he really likes Lynham. He really likes your voice, and would like to, I'd like to introduce you to Lonnie, his guitar player, and see what you guys think." And Lonnie happened to be at the memorial as well. So Jay introduced us. And then the next day, Lonnie and Stephen came to my hotel room, and we hit it off. Like, we talked about music forever, and just, what he was into, where his head was now, and what I was into, and everything else. So me and Lonnie immediately started writing songs together back and forth through email, me in Birmingham and him in L.A., and we came up with some really strong songs that we felt were really strong, and we put this thing together. And then Jeff Pilson got on board to produce the record. Jay got on board to mix the record, and we started recording in January of this year, and we were done with the record by I want to say May, and it's just been a wonderful experience. I feel like we were brought together literally by Janie Lane, man. And that's what I'm saying. I don't know if you believe in stuff like that, but I sure do. I think everything happens because it's supposed to, and I almost think he brought us together, as weird as it sounds or whatever. Just,
pretty cool.
That's how we came together. Sorry for the extremely long explanation.
No problem. It's enjoyable,
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the tracks. You basically wrote or co-wrote 10 of the 11 songs.
Yes.
So, and my favorite one is Another Version of the Truth.
Man, that's one of my favorites too. That was a co-write between me, Lonnie, and Jeff Pilson, and that particular song, I had the riff laying around for a long time, and a lot of the chorus ideas and stuff, and then Lonnie had the verse ideas laying around musically, and then I put some words to it, and that one right there is one of my favorites as well. I feel like you can definitely hear Jeff Pilson's influence in that song, because the vocals in the chorus are so huge, kind of like a Dawkins song, like In My Dreams or something. You can just really hear the big vocals in the chorus, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You're familiar with Jeff's stuff, but yeah, I'm really proud of that song as well. I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, I listened to it over and over before our interview, and I see a good mix. You know, it's not like the whole album's like heavy. You got a good mix of ballads, power ballads. The first song, I thought was like kind of like countryish, but then it gets heavy. You know, like because it's like I'm new to the band, you know, this band. But I mean, like when you hear the first song, you say, "Wow, this is going to be different," and then it gets, you know, it's pretty commercial, you know.
Yeah, you can definitely hear my my southern roots, you know, in that, particularly the first song, "Back from the Dead." You know, I'm playing mandolin and dobro and acoustic guitar on that because I'm a huge bluegrass fan. It's just kind of, if you're from the South, if you're especially Alabama, if you're from Alabama, you kind of grow up with it. It's in your DNA, you know, that type of music. So, and of course, rock music is definitely in my DNA. So, you know, I feel like our influences really shine on the record, really come out, but yet we don't sound like anybody. We definitely sound like our own. I can't say we don't sound like anybody, but you know what I mean. We definitely have we definitely have our sound, and you know, definitely very proud of it.
Cool, cool. Now, when you write the songs, do you have to go to Stephen to approval or whatever, since he's the, I guess, the entity of the band?
Yeah, absolutely. I've turned in lots of songs that he just didn't like, that he, you know, didn't feel was right for the band. So, you know, so it'd go back to the drawing board and submit something else. But there were many songs. There are many songs that didn't make the record that I feel are just so strong and so good. And maybe they'll you know, make another record down the road.
Right. Like you said, he did Adler's Appetite for quite a bit of years and stuff, and now I noticed he got like a whole new logo, and so like it's a whole different direction. Is that true?
Yeah, a whole different thing, a completely different band. The only member of Adler's Appetite that's in the band is Lonnie, but Lonnie only played with Adler's Appetite just you know, a handful of shows. He wasn't in the band very long, so it's a completely new entity, completely new band, and you know, we're all really, really proud of the songs that we wrote. I wrote several by myself. Lonnie wrote "Have It" by himself, and we collaborated on several as well. And there's the two that Jeff collaborated with us. We just you know, feel like it definitely represents what's going on in everybody's life now musically.
Cool. Now, will there be a tour?
Oh, absolutely. We're in 2013. We're planning on hitting, you know, everywhere, the States and the rest of the world. So very excited about it.
Cool. When you first met Stephen Adler, what was your impression of him?
You know, it was nuts. You know, because even though he's just you know, a dude like me or you, he's the drummer that played on my favorite record of all time. So it was, you know, it's always a little bit like, wow, you know, when you meet somebody that, you know, anytime you meet somebody that used to hang on your wall when you were a kid, that's a influence or whatever, no matter what, you know, there's always that wow factor, like, wow. And that's what it was like, you know, when I met him. And then after talking to him, you know, finding out he's one of the sweetest guys in the world. Like, he's got a heart of gold, man, huge heart, and just an amazing person. That's what I thought out of that initial meeting, is like, wow, what a great guy.
Wow. Well, it's amazing talking to you once again. Since 2006.
Oh, you too, brother.
You know, I mean, we got a long relationship, good friends, and I appreciate you giving us the interview as one of the main members now of Adler. Would you like to say anything to everybody in the world?
Everybody in the world can check us out online. Our website is adlerrocks.com. Our Facebook page is Adler Music. Our YouTube page is Adler Official, and our Twitter is Adler Rocks. And thank you so much, Brian, for your friendship over the years. It really means a lot, and thank you for taking the time to do this interview.
No problem. I always could count on you to give me a call. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Keep in touch.
Definitely. Bye-bye.
Bye.